and use your, your flash unit off the camera to do it. So that's one that I use. We'll just go around the room and see what else you got.
I was trying to come up with an idea for a way to bounce a flash in the field for flowers and stuff close to the ground. Because a direct flash is just too strong, leaves too much shadows. Diffuse flash quite often, if it's too straight on, does the same thing. And trying to hold the flash off to the side and diffuse and take the shot is just really awkward. So I rigged this up, and it's nothing fancy, but it works really good. You leave the flash on the camera, point it up at this little whiteboard I've got up here, and you can use any color you want if you want to reflect a different color. And it's nothing fancy because it just mounts right on a regular flash bracket with a clamp. And then the board is just a piece of photo paper glued to a piece of cardboard. So it's cheap, fits in the top of my camera case. I can clamp it on there and turn it the other direction if you want to spread the light a little bit more. You can move it anywhere you want it because your flash is flexible. You can point it any direction you want to. Put it off to the other side. So you can direct your light wherever you want if you're working on something close and low to the ground like that. It also works pretty good for portraits. And I took pictures of a parrot to demonstrate the difference between no flash, direct flash, and bounce flash. It works pretty good, and it cost me a whole $6 to build it.
That's great.
Great idea.
Okay, somebody else?
Well, I brought a Walmart flash modifier. Now, I brought these because I want you guys to go over here and tear a chunk off, and I want you to leave here with a piece of this each, because you ought to have it in your bag. So, obviously, there's two sides here. One is more reflective and one is less. And you can do all kinds of very high illuminations with a piece of tinfoil. The best thing is, you go like that, and you put it in your pack, and it takes up no room, and if you lose it or tear it or whatever, you know where to get some more. So there's one flash modifier, and you ought to have that in your bag. You'd be surprised how often you use it. Now this is a little bit different. This is parchment paper, and I like it because not only does it work as a white reflector, so that you get sort of a soft white illumination on whatever you want to put it on, but you can also use it as a diffuser because it's somewhat translucent. So you can shade your item with it and things of that nature. And again, you know, if you're down on the ground shooting mushrooms or you're trying to get a picture of a flower and there's too much light and the colors are getting all washed out, you've got your parchment paper, and you ought to have that in your bag as well. So those are really handy. They're very portable, and I encourage you to come over and tear off a chunk if you'd like to do that.
If you get in a pinch, you can break down and start a fire and bake.
So this stuff is called Fun Foam, and this is a light modifier that I use on flash heads, and they're pretty easy to make, and they kind of look like they're Catholic when you get them all done, right? So these slip right on. You can see them all over the place. They cost about $3 to build. And if you don't want to do it out of Fun Foam and Velcro, you can use a white piece of paper glued to a piece of cardboard or whatever. But that really softens a flash illumination, and it really makes it nice for just a great walk-around piece if you're shooting a wedding group or a party or something like that. So it just really takes a lot of heat out of it, and it really helps you with your flesh tones. So that's kind of a homemade deal.
Can you get an Hobby Lobby or something?
I got this at Walmart.
Fun Foam, it's called Fun.
Yeah, you find it with the construction paper or anywhere, but it's just a real thin foam product.
By the artsy crafty center? Okay.
Yeah.
And you put the Velcro on it yourself?
Yeah, it's the stick Velcro. So, yeah, I made 2 or 3 of them. These are really inexpensive, and you can use them either in concert with flash heads or as dish reflectors. You can set them on the ground and reflect things in. I brought it just because they're cheap. And if you haven't done anything with umbrellas, you ought to look on eBay. I mean, these things are anywhere from $3 to $5 a piece. So there's a foil. I recommend getting the one with the alligator hide on the inside because it's a better diffusion. These reflect roughly 50% of the the light that you burst into them. It just really softens things nicely, makes it very directional. This one actually came in yesterday, and these were $5.75 for a pair. These are shoot-throughs, so they work like a softbox, but they can also work as a nice gentle shade on a subject that you're doing. And they're $5.75 for a pair, and they're 42-inch. So super, super handy, and really inexpensive. So if you want to do that, you know, those are great, whether you're shooting flash photography or just sheltering bright sunlight and things like that. Those work great. I'm going to give this away when I get done telling you about it. Modifying light is a lot of fun, but if you create your own light and you don't have enough, this flash is broken. The little thingy is broken. And Warren and others would tell you that these flashes could never be mounted to a camera, ever, ever, ever. They will burn up a camera. So what? If you're shooting a bouquet and you have direct hot light, that's all fine and dandy. But if you take a flash modifier, like a piece of paper towel, and you decide how much you want to cut back, so let's try 2 layers. So you put that on there, and you put your rubber band on it, and it softens it. Now suddenly you've got a hot light source. If you go into a relatively dark room, and you can open your shutter for 2 to 3 seconds, that's not hard to do, just pull the drapes in your living room. Then you can actually reach behind it, and you can provide translucence in your image, so that you get light through the petals. So these are fun. They're between $500 and $800. These are free, and you don't need any ETTL or any other stuff to get really creative with carving light into your images. So these are ridiculously cheap, and any flash will do, I don't care what. You just push the test button and set it off. And you can modify any number of ways you can think of. I like to use a paper towel or a napkin or whatever I have handy. So you can make them intense or not as much. If you do this, you can go from full power down to 1/128th. Well, this is probably like 1/16th, and this is probably like, you know, 1 something else, and who cares? But you understand that you can carve light. Light is all you have, folks. You can't capture anything else. You can carve light into an image in a variety of ways. It's very appealing to have things short-lived. So whether it's a subject or a vase or a tractor part or whatever, if you just reach over and puff a little bit of light on what's called either short right or short left, then you get that variegated shadowing in your image, and it just makes lovely things happen.
Get all the detail.
So darn near free. Somebody gave me a camera bag with a bunch of stuff in it that didn't work, and this was in there. And at some point, somebody's abused it because the little tabs are broken. You couldn't put it on a camera if you wanted to, but you don't care because you're never going to put it on your camera. So the rest of it is that if you spend $7 and $7 and $5 and $3, then you're kind of set up, ready to go. These are $5. That is an optical trigger. So now you can take the pop-up flash on your camera or any other flash head you have, and you can use your fill flash to set off your other flash like that. So for about, I don't know, 15 bucks, you can do some fun studio lighting. The greatest affect on a flash head is distance. So if you set it up on full power and you put it 3 feet away from your subject and it's too hot, back it up a foot. If it's still too hot, back it up another foot. That's not scientific, it's not tricky, but it's cheap and it's easy. And you can do it. And if you throw these things in there and modify that and soften it and spread it, suddenly you're doing product lighting. If you want to put things on eBay, or if you want to take a really nice, softly lit picture of your kids or your dog or whatever you have, these things are available to you. So whether you have one of these or not, if you've got a pop-up flash on your camera, you can have dual lighting, fill and side lit. If you don't want fill light, then you take a piece of paper towel and you put it in front of your pop-up flash, and it's still enough to set that off without doing any fill. So now you have nothing but short light. So there's some modifiers. Those are the things that I use. We have more than one person interested in a free flash head. Okay, so we're gonna play heads or tails. So anybody interested in this flash head, stand up. So you guys know how this works.
I'm broke.
Either put your hand on your head or your tail. Okay, that one's heads. So that's
Hopefully you're
right. Okay, here we go. Do it again. That one's heads, you're out. So it's between you two. That one's tails. You guys are both still in. And that one's tails. You're out.
That being said, like you said, you don't, if you have been through the flash class or my SLR class, you'll know that old flash units especially put out more current than our current digital cameras can handle. So if you buy an old flash unit, plug it into your camera, you get one picture because it will burn out your circuit board in your camera because it puts too much current back. That being said, it's not that they're worthless. You can buy very inexpensive little radio remotes that'll fire the flashes fine. They're just not attached to your camera. It sends a radio signal out to the flash to tell it to fire. And it works great then, and you have no trouble at all. But you never put an old flash unit without checking first to make sure that it doesn't put out too much current to burn out your camera. I've known somebody burn out 2 5D Mark IIs, one shot after another, because they borrowed an old flash, slapped it on, click, didn't work, grabbed their backup camera, stuck it on, click, didn't work, and then asked the question why. Hard learning curve. Good.
Can I give you a 20-second quick review?
Sure.
So this is the 12 most respected photographers that have ever worked for National Geographic. And it's called Complete Photo Photography. It's it says $12.98. They're actually about, I think it was $8. The hardbound is, I think, close to $50. But if Barnes & Noble doesn't have the paperback, they'll order it for you, which is what I did. And if you didn't do anything with it, the photography in it alone makes just a wonderful coffee table book. But basically, if you had an opportunity to walk up to the 12 most famous National Geographic photographers and ask them how they did that, that's what this is. And at the end of each section of each photographer, they ask them what makes a great photograph. So they get to pick their favorite photograph, and it's published here, and then they get to explain why they think that's a great photograph. And so it's just completely fabulous. It's a great, easy read. And again, if you did nothing but put it on your coffee table, the pictures are completely fabulous.